Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page International. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. Biden gave a State of the Union address. However, Republicans did not react favorably to many claims that Biden took credit for, such as securing the southern border. Sara Huckabee Sanders gave Biden a scathing retort afterwards. Biden's weakness towards China and his failure at the border were among her targets. To deal with the influx of illegal migrants, New York City Mayor plans to pass the buck to Canada and bus the migrants close to the Canadian border. The Turkish president continues to rally the nation together to overcome the challenges that they are facing, which may help him in the coming election. Difficulties continue, though, with getting support and supplies to some regions. Meanwhile, French farmers made a convoy of tractors in order to protest recent government overreach. Environmentalists, however, applaud the new restrictions on insecticides that they say damage the wildlife and soil. Okay, let's get into it. In his State of the Union address, Joe Biden attempted to convey bipartisan spirit. However, the gesture quickly evaporated as he repeatedly made statements that disappointed Republicans. Biden began his remarks by congratulating Kevin McCarthy for being elected as Speaker of the House. Then he continued that Democrats and Republicans have proven for the past 2 years that they can work together. However, he offended Republicans when he accused them of wanting to sunset Medicare and Social Security. While Republicans booed and accused Biden of lying, Biden backpedaled and said, "I'm not saying it's the majority." Following a heated confrontation with Republican lawmakers who were shouting from their seats, Biden backed off the dispute and said, "So, folks, we all apparently agree Social Security and Medicare is off the books now." But he followed up with a threat, saying if anyone tries to cut these programs, I'll veto it. Also, he threatened vetoing any anti-abortion law passed by Congress. Moving forward, Republicans again erupted after Biden claimed that he was trying to secure the border. Obviously, that is a sore point for those who blame Biden for allowing illegal immigrants to flood the country. Biden went on to say, "We now have a record number of personnel working to secure the border." He added, "American border problems won't be fixed until Congress acts." And he urged Congress to at least pass my plan to provide the equipment and officers to secure the border. Also, he did not directly refer to China's spy balloon. He only made a passing reference to the incident, stating that, as we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did. Other than that, he didn't say much about China. The national debt is another issue that is a big concern, but gets little attention from Biden. In addition, Biden made a comment suggesting that he should get credit for ending the pandemic. Biden also took a moment to make an aside about the January 6th Capitol breach, calling it the biggest threat to democracy since the Civil War. Republicans, again, were not fond of these claims and they withheld their applause. Biden wrapped up his speech by attempting to strike an optimistic note. He declared, "Because the soul of this nation is strong, because the backbone of this nation is strong, because the people of this nation are strong, the State of the Union is strong." And he ended by saying that we're the United States of America and there's nothing beyond our capacity to do it together. Arkansas Governor Sara Huckabee Sanders gave a speech on Tuesday evening in response to Joe Biden's State of the Union address, drawing a sharp contrast with Joe Biden. Sanders called Biden unfit to serve as commander-in-chief and said his weakness put our nation and the world at risk. She described the current political landscape as chaotic. She also said the dividing line in America is no longer between right or left. The choice is between normal or crazy. She added, while you reap the consequences of their failures, the Biden administration seems more interested in woke fantasies than the hard reality that Americans face every day. Among the reasons that Arkansas Governor Sara Huckabee Sanders was selected to deliver the Republican rebuttal to Biden was because at 40 years old, she's the nation's youngest governor, while at 80, Biden is the oldest president in the history of the United States. But Sanders, in her combative response, said that age is not the only difference between the two. With a searing contrast, she said that the vision offered by a new generation of Republican leadership in America today and tomorrow is vastly different from the America that is presented by Biden and the Democrats. She also stated that Republicans are being galvanized by a new generation brimming with passion. They are ready to offer new ideas to solve age-old problems and to find a better way forward. Sanders also complained about the government collusion with big tech to suppress freedom of speech. She stressed that it's wrong. Addressing freedom, she said, "Tonight, let us reaffirm our commitment to a timeless American idea that government exists not to rule the people, but to serve the people. Democrats want to rule us with more government control, but that is not who we are." In addition, Sanders portrayed Biden as weak on national security. She said his refusal to stand up to China, our most formidable adversary, is dangerous and unacceptable. Sanders wrapped up her response vowing that Republicans will not surrender this fight. We will do what is right, not what is convenient or politically correct. Under the leadership of Senate Republicans and House Speaker McCarthy, we will hold Biden accountable. A Canadian immigration official has said that it is surprising to see that New York City is sending migrants to its border. In a recent interview, the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, stated that his administration helps migrants who are sent to his city but who want to leave. Adams said, "Some want to go to Canada, some want to go to warmer states, and we are there for them as they continue to move on with their pursuit of this dream." As part of the program, migrants in New York City are provided with a free bus ticket to Plattsburgh, New York State, which is about 40 miles south of the Canadian border. Then they can take taxis or shuttles to Quebec. However, Quebec Immigration Minister Christine Frechette expressed that this development was surprising. She said that it highlighted the need to solve the problem of the Roxham Road. She was referring to an unofficial border crossing that is south of Montreal that is used by thousands of asylum seekers every year. She said, "I think it makes the urgency of the situation even more apparent." She added that Canada and the U.S. were negotiating to update the Safe Third Country Agreement. Under the 2002 treaty, migrants must claim asylum in the first country they enter, whether it be the U.S. or Canada, but it only applies at official border crossings, which Roxham Road is not. Through this loophole, the migrants can have their asylum cases heard by Canadian immigration authorities. There's an ongoing migrant crisis in New York City since states on the southern border are busing newly arrived migrants to the city. The earthquakes in Turkey and Syria have killed more than 11,000 people, making it the deadliest seismic event since 2011. There have been more than 30,000 injuries, and rescue workers are still searching for survivors beneath the rubble, which is expected to increase the death toll. Turkish President Erdogan, who had declared a state of emergency in 10 provinces and who sent in troops to help, arrived in the region to view the damage and to see the rescue and relief efforts. Erdogan said that there had been problems with roads and airports, but we are better today. He added, "We will be better tomorrow and later. We still have some issues with fuel, but we will overcome those too." However, he faces some challenges for a May election that was already set to be one of his toughest battles. Having the impression that the government isn't properly responding to the disaster could negatively affect his chances. On the other hand, analysts say that he could rally national support around the crisis response, which could strengthen his position. According to a senior emergencies officer with the World Health Organization, as many as 23 million people could be affected in the region that was struck by the quake. The Syrian territory that has been affected is divided between government-controlled areas and by areas held by the opposition. So the support efforts have been hindered in the area by the isolation of the rebel-held region along the border. The UN, however, said that it was exploring all avenues to deliver supplies to the rebel-held areas. On Wednesday, hundreds of French farmers drove to Paris to protest pesticide restrictions and other environmental regulations that are threatening farm production. Earlier this month, a European Court of Justice ruled that French sugar beet growers could no longer use an insecticide that the EU had banned. This raised concerns that beet planting and sugar factory closures could be further affected. The sugar beet decision has sharpened discontent among farmers over what they see as excessive pesticide curbs. The curbs go against government calls to boost food security in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and to the war in Ukraine. Jerome Despy, the Secretary General of France's main farming union, said, "Our means of production keep being undermined by prohibitions without solutions. Enough is enough." The union and other protest organizers were expecting 500 tractors and 2,000 farmers from the Paris region to attend. A long procession of tractors appeared bearing banners saying Macron is liquidating agriculture. Other banners said, "Save your farmer." However, environmental activists say that pesticide residues damage soil and wildlife, and they have welcomed the EU ruling against the use of sugar beet seeds treated with insecticides that can harm bees. However, farmers argue that sugar beet plants do not attract bees, and that the ban leaves them exposed to crop disease, raising the prospect of lower production and more imports from countries that allow the insecticides. Following a meeting with farm unions on Wednesday morning, the French agricultural minister will present a plan on this issue on Thursday. Facebook's parent company Meta Platforms is asking many of its managers and directors to take on individual contributor jobs or leave the company. The process is known internally as flattening. In the coming weeks, higher-level managers will share the directive with their subordinates. This will be separate from the regular performance evaluations that the company is currently conducting. Meta fired 13% of its workforce in November during its first major layoff. In the company's recent earnings report, Mark Zuckerberg stated that the organization is still too slow-moving and too bloated. He called 2023 the year of efficiency, and he vowed to cut middle managers and underperforming projects. After a disastrous year in 2022, Zuckerberg's plan for a leaner organization helped restore the share price. The share price is up more than 56% so far this year. In a new report, the Afghanistan Analyst Network says that after 1.5 years since the Taliban came to power, the soldiers of this group prefer life on the battlefield to life in the city. This is because on the battlefield they were not responsible for their family members. Expressing their longing to return to the period of the fight, these soldiers say that with the coming of the Islamic Emirate to power, the fight, which was considered a religious duty for Taliban soldiers and which freed them from their everyday worries, is now at an end, and the expectations of their families have also changed. Taliban members now have to work hard to support themselves and their family like others. This report is based on detailed interviews with 5 Taliban soldiers and is entitled New Life in the City, Taliban's Experience of Life in Kabul. The report shows that when Taliban soldiers left their villages in August of 2021, they had a negative attitude against the normal life of people in Kabul. But after living in Kabul for about 2 years, at least some of these soldiers realized that their negative image of the Kabul society was wrong. They realized that there are good and bad people in the society, and now interacting with women is part of living in Kabul. During the first period of the establishment of their rule in Afghanistan in the 1990s, the Taliban were able to implement strict regulations in Afghanistan. This included prohibiting women from leaving the house without the permission from their husbands and requiring all women to wear the hijab that covers their face. Also, men did not have the right to wear suits and shave their beards and mustaches. But this time, when the leaders of the Taliban tried to implement the same strict regulations in the second round, they faced resistance from the people, especially women. Women protested the Taliban's restrictions by holding street protests and online protests, and the Taliban faced pressure from the international community. Okay, that's a wrap for this episode. But before we go, I want to mention that Kari Lake recently had a major announcement about her election lawsuit status. We published it on our new platform, Ganjing World, and I'll leave the link in the description below. Please watch it there. Okay, thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. We've also heard from many of our viewers that they don't get notifications of our videos anymore, so please follow us on Telegram, Gab, Getter, True Social, and on Ganjing World for the latest updates. We'll leave the links in the description below. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.